Okay, ladies, so I wanted to follow up and show you another tutorial video on Google Drive. This will be a little more advanced than our first one, and I wanted to walk you through just exactly how I used Drive throughout the years. So this is an intro into my Drive right here. We will enter in the Veritas folder, and this is showing you sort of how I organize my life. So I have my past years and my documents, and then my current year that I'm currently working on. And now that we know that the year is over, I'll drag this into here, but not now. For now, we're going to act as if the year is still current. But when I am done with the year, that's what I do. I drag it into there and I start a new, so you start a new folder and call that year 2015-2016, and that would be your new folder. I'm going to delete that for now. So first I want to walk through some of the past years and past projects we've done. So if you go in here, I have my years broken down. 2013 and 2014 will go there. And the reason I've organized like this is so that Drive acts as excess storage for our memories. And we want to organize our Drive such that we'll easily remember where stuff is. So I'll remember, oh, I had a geography class that I really liked this project that we did. And in this way, I know, okay, it was in 2013, 2014, go into my classes and I find my geography folder and I remember, oh, it was in term 1 that we did that project, and it was the Canada and Central America project. Now that was a shared folder. This is a shared folder that I allowed, that not only did I communicate to the kids their grades and feedback that they could see, but I also allowed them to drop in their projects into this folder. So I'll have all my student submissions right there. Now I'm going to pick on Jaime in this case. We'll go in here and open his project up. I want to show you, one of the things I want to show you is how improved their presentations are over the years. So this is one of their first presentations using Google presentations, but they're going to get a lot better. So we look at his project here of Honduras and El Salvador, and it's pretty good, but he's going to get a lot better as he develops. So we're going to look at some of his later work throughout the years. So that is how you use, how I organize past years. Now let's go to a current project, and I'm going to walk you through step by step how I communicated to the students through Drive and how it makes grading and organization so much easier. So I go in here, I will enter into my history folder. Inside history I have 4 different subfolders. This one is just, I had a week of lesson plans that I needed to come up with, so I can actually delete this one. I don't need it anymore. That was just for the substitute that was going to be there. These 3 folders is basically how I organize my Drive. One is called handouts and it's called teacher copy. So everything that I don't want the students to see, I put in there, and I don't want them to be able to edit, and that's not shared. It's shared, but only with the administration and not with the students. So inside there I have all my exams, and I have some other supplemental material like handouts and things like that. Okay, in pre-year docs I have things like my syllabus and my lesson plans, my master copies of my lesson plans. And then this is the main folder that I want to spend some time on, student drop-off folder. This is where the class happens at. So we're going to enter in the student drop-off folder, and you'll see that I have the all folder and all of my individual students. Now this is where they'll communicate with me their individual work. So if I went into Abby's folder here, this is what she's dropped in throughout the year. And she's organized it by term 1, term 2, term 3. Now the rest of this stuff hasn't been put into a term 4 folder, but that's okay. And this makes communicating with Abby extremely easy. I know where everything is. It's all in one place. Now as the year goes, I have them organize their Drive, which is why term 1 is so well organized, and I'm sure term 2 is as well. It's only the term 4 stuff that she hasn't actually gone back and organized yet because the year just ended, so I'm sure she'll go and do that, and eventually when she comes here she'll go into her folder and she'll just have term 1, term 2, term 3, and term 4. all this other stuff will be dropped into that term 4 folder. So let's take a look at how you can use the all folder and the individual student folders. The all folder, I've made it to where only I can edit it, but and I'll show you what that looks like, all the students can view it. So if I go to that little shared with me guy, all of these students can view, but they cannot edit, and that's crucial. You don't want students to be able to edit documents that you drop in here because they can on accident erase them or edit them. These are materials that you want to be able to control, and you want them to be able to view only. Now, so this is the all folder, and I've dropped different things in, and again, I'm going to make a new folder here called term 4, and I'm going to drop in these last things. So all we should see is term 1, term 2, term 2, 3, and 4. From here, I'm going to show you a project that we worked on. I think it was in term 3, and it was our Renaissance project. So I created this folder called Renaissance Period, and it's shared with all of them, of course, because it's in the all folder. The cool thing about creating that all folder is you only have to do sharing permissions once. I know that whatever I drop inside this folder, all the kids will see. So all of these are by default shared with the whole class. I go in here, I see my Renaissance Period folder. Now I've given them 3 main elements. I've given them a document, a spreadsheet, and a presentation. So this is sort of how I typically run my projects. The first document is something that I typed up, and it's a brief introduction to the Renaissance period, something that they can go on and they can read in their own time to get familiar with what we're studying. The second element is this sheet here. Now this Google Sheet that I've just double-clicked, and just so you know what's going on, up here I have tabs open. So as I'm switching between tabs, you're not seeing that, but that's what's happening. So I'm going to go back to full screen. So again, this is a Google Sheet, and I've organized it to manage the project. So I'm going to walk you through this in a second, but just know that this exists. And my last piece was the actual project, and that's what this looks like. And again, I'm going to come back to this in a second. But first, let me walk you through. So just to recap, those are the 3 pieces: a presentation, a Google Sheet, and a Google Doc. Now let's start with the assignment. So the first thing I'll tell the kids when they first come in class, I'll say, read over Renaissance period notes. Get a little familiar with the period that we're studying. Then read the assignment, the project assignment. Lastly, fill in your work into the presentation. So this presentation in the beginning is empty. There's nothing in it. And the kids are going to populate this with their work. So first they read that document. Now they're on to the assignment. This is what that assignment looks like. I've selected 12 Renaissance period characters, philosophers, and theologians to identify and to research. I've assigned each of those students to their philosopher, and then I have these 2 columns to help me and to help them know where they're at in terms of their work. So if they've turned it in, they get a yes, and if they've responded to feedback, they will get a yes. Now I happen to know that all of these students did respond to feedback, but I wanted to leave this up, and I'll show you how you can format it to be bright red like that without actually having to change the contents of the box. This helps me visually just know who owes me work and who doesn't. Again, so I'll show you that in just a little while. But first, let me finish walking you through this workflow. So the kids, they've read their notes. This is the document. They've gone over to their assignment sheet. They've seen who they're responsible for, and they see this little breakdown of they need to create 5 slides, and they need to have this information in the slides. Okay, so now they're ready to start their project. The project is the only thing and this is the project, this is the only thing that I've made to where all of the students can edit it so that they can actually edit the project. So you have to go in and make sure that you change from can view to can edit. Okay, and now I've had them put these in order, and as you see, their projects have gotten substantially better over the time. I want to highlight one student in particular. Abby did a really good job here. She had John Locke, and her design, she got really good at using Google presentations. I mean, just look at that beautiful use of organizing information. I think this is really a powerful presentation, and she is undoubtedly going to remember John Locke's contribution to philosophy because she spent so much time organizing it onto this project. So really proud of this one, and a lot of them are really good. I'm just highlighting on one of them. We don't have time to go over all of them. And there's a whole class I can teach on using Google Slides, and a lot of our work in class is just them practicing on how to actually do things like this, like put the text inside and make that box blue, have a background image, all of these things. Import in images like this. So that's a whole another video, and I will make a video on Google presentations going through some of those tricks and skills. Okay, so this is the final product. We have this really cool, almost like an electronic textbook of different different students' works, and they can all see each other's work. And for the test, of course, I pulled questions from each of their work, and in my comments, I would respond if there were errors, or if they needed a fact check, or if they didn't add enough, answer the questions well enough. I can do comments on the side here, and they need to respond to those comments. So I left a few of those comments, some harmless ones, in this project just so you could see what that would look like. And this comment happened to already be resolved. There used to be a white block underneath here, and I taught her how to crop that out so it just looked a little better. So I can go ahead and resolve that comment and it goes away. I just wanted to show you that's sort of how the feedback works in presentations, and it makes it easy for the teacher because I can quickly look at this left panel and see where there's a comment. So in this case, there's a comment right there. I can go there and see, okay, I made a little comment there. And I can scroll down quickly and see, oh, there's a comment, there's a comment. So it helps me to keep track of who has been responding to comments, because once they've responded to a comment, then they'll go on here and hit resolve, and it'll go away. Okay, so that's our final product. Is pretty awesome, and the reason I think this is really cool is, let's say they're in high school and they remember, hey, I learned about Rene Descartes, I learned about John Locke. It was in my 7th and 8th grade history class. Well, Google Drive is such a powerful tool in being able to locate that information later in life. So if they ever need to access their work, they can quickly go to where they know it is and find that work. So I think that that's one of the really cool things that Google Drive brings to the table. Now, I told you that I was going to show you how I use this assignment sheet. Now, formatting, like making this like light blue, you can grab a whole row by clicking on these numbers over here and go up here and you can change the color. So like I can change this to yellow if I wanted to. Control Z, undo that. Now notice when I change that whole thing to yellow, this no still was bright red. Now that is what I want to teach you now. So I'm going to undo that. I don't need that to be yellow. But I want to teach you how, if I make this text box, for instance, say no, watch what happens. It shows up as bright red. And the reason I did it like that was so that I could quickly visually look at this sheet and see who owed me work. So I could go to Jessica and say, hey, Jessica, you did not respond to feedback yet. And that made my life a little easier. The way I did that is I hit Command or Control, Command on a Mac, Control on a PC, I selected the whole sheet, I went up to Format, I went to Conditional Formatting, and I made this rule. This rule says the whole range, which is the whole entire sheet, if text is exactly NO, then I did a custom, I chose a color. So I could choose this color if I wanted to, and it would turn it all green. I chose that red, and you choose the color right here. Okay, so then you can add different rules if you want. So then anytime I type in NO, capital N, lowercase o, no matter where I type it, that will turn that red. And that's one little trick you can use with Sheets to make your life as a teacher easier. So in this case, I happen to know that all of these students did their feedback, so I can go in here and hit yes for all of them. But as I'm working with them, that no really helps me to see. Okay, so that's basically a product. Let me recap everything we did. I went into my student drop-off folder. In the beginning, I said, okay, we're going to do a Renaissance project. So I go into all, I create a new folder. In this case, since this is the end of the year, I have all of these organized by term already. At the beginning of the year, you don't need to have that already. This is something, creating folders and cleaning up your drive can be retroactive. So you can do this at the end and drop stuff in. You don't have to plan like that. So originally my all folder just had the assignment in there, and then later on when term 2 came around, I made a folder called term 1 and I dropped all the term 1 stuff inside of it. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so in this case we know it's in term 3, so the kids come in, they see in the all folder, they see a folder called Renaissance Period, and inside Renaissance Period we can, I had another one called Revolution. This was about the different revolutions of the world. Inside Renaissance Period, they can click into there, and they have their 3 elements. This was a presentation, a Google slide, and that Google slide, that was set that everyone could edit it. And again, you do that by, you can right-click it, go to Share, and you can click on the names down here, if you've already shared them, of course, and change the permissions. In this case, can edit all the way. This assignment was everyone can view it. I didn't want anybody to be able to edit that, and again, that was what the assignment looked like. And then the document was the notes that I originally entered. That's an example, just one example of how you can use Google Drive to organize a project and use each element of Google Drive, the 3 main apps, which is Google Slides, Google Sheets, and Google Docs, to organize and accomplish that project. So I hope you learned something with this video. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me. Again, check out the other videos when it comes to learning each of the apps individually. But this is Google Drive Part 2. God bless.